Good morning, class! How are you today? Good to know that we are all fine. Before we formally start, may I request Neri to lead the prayer? Thank you, Neri. Okay, Miss Secretary, can you please check the attendance first before we start? Thank you. Oops! Everybody stand up first and pick the pieces of trashes under your table. Very good, class. Now you can take your seats. And for today, let us have first a short energizer to make you all feel alive and active. Are you ready? Okay, everybody stand up and join me.
I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, alert, alive. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic.
So for today's lesson, we will be discussing the formation of typhoons. So here are our objectives. At the end of the lesson, the pupils should be able to describe typhoons in the Philippines, explain how typhoons are formed, and display sense of awareness and preparedness in terms of typhoons.
Hello class! Here we have another lesson to explore, another activities to enjoy, and another learning to unlock. In our previous topic, we have learned about forces that affect changes on Earth's surface. But before we start, let's unlock some words that are related in our topic today. Are you ready? Okay, get a 1/4 sheet of paper and let's try this. Study the scrambled letters and try to unscramble or rearrange the letters to form a word. Thank you for your active participation.
Class, since we have unlocked words from the previous activity, this time, let's differentiate typhoons according to its public storm warming. But before I present a short video, I will ask you some questions that are related to our topic. And all of your answers will be accepted since you will base it on your own experiences. Okay, what are the signals and categories of typhoon? Yes, Althea, you're raising your hand.
In my opinion, there are 5 typhoon signals. Signal number 1, signal number 2, signal number 3, signal number 4, and signal number 5.
Excellent! Class, can you describe the average speed of the storm signals? Anyone? Yes, Neri?
For my answer, an area's given signal number is based on the intensity, size of circulation, and the forecast direction, and speed of the tropical storm or typhoon when the public storm warning signal is raised. It also determines the change of the public storm warning signal in a given area.
Very good! What are the things to consider before, during, and after a tropical cyclone? Another? Don't answer me in chorus. Just raise your hands. Yes, Florabelle?
For me, the thing to consider before a tropical cyclone is to prepare an emergency kit. During a tropical cyclone, we must secure ourselves, and after a tropical cyclone is to clean and help the family.
Excellent! Emergency kit, flashlight, cloth, foods, etc. And why it is important to be prepared before the typhoon? Yes,
In my opinion, it is important to be prepared before a typhoon strikes so that we can protect our lives. Also, if somehow the need to evacuate happens due to the strong typhoon, we can immediately evacuate.
very good. And now class, I am going to present a short video.
Signal number 1. Inaasahan ang bagyo sa loob ng isa't kalahating araw. Ang hangin ay maaaring magdulot ng lubhang mahina hanggang walang pinsala. Walang pasok ang mga bata sa preschool. Mag-abang ng pinakahuling severe weather bulletin bawat 6 na oras. Signal number 2. Ang bagyo ay maaaring dumating sa loob ng isang araw. May taglay ito ng bahagya hanggang katamtamang lakas ng hangin. Walang pasok ang mga mag-aaral sa preschool, elementary at high school. Pinapayuhan ng lahat na isecure ang bahay, kagamitan at huwag munang maglakbay. Signal number 3. Asahan ang maaaring pagdating ng bagyo matapos ang 18 oras. Bahagya hanggang malakas na hangin ang inaasahang kasama nito. Wala na ring pasok ang mga nasa kolehiyo kasama ang graduate school. Lumikas mula sa mababang lugar, baybayin at tabing ilog at maghanda ng pagkawala ng kuryente at komunikasyon. Signal number 4. Ang bagyo ay pwedeng tumama sa loob ng 12 oras. Malakas hanggang napakalakas na hangin ang dapat na asahan. Dapat nakalikas na mula sa critical areas at manatili sa isang ligtas na lugar. At signal number 5. Asahan ang pagtama ng bagyo sa loob ng 12 oras. Magiging napakalakas ng hangin na magdudulot ng malawakang pinsala.
How these signals affect the locality.
These typhoon signals affect the locality by alerting residents to the approaching occurrence of certain weather conditions. Once a storm signal is raised, conditions are not yet necessarily felt in the given area. Public storm signal number 1 is being raised once the weather disturbance is expected in the next 36 hours. Public storm warning signal number 2 is being raised once the weather disturbance is expected in the next 24 hours. Public storm warning signal number 3 is being raised once the weather disturbance is expected in 18 hours. And public storm signal warning number 4 is being raised once the weather disturbance is expected in 12 hours. The change in intensity, size of circulation, or movement of the tropical cyclone also determines the change of the public storm warning signal in a given area.
What are the things to consider before, during, and after a tropical cyclone?
Before a tropical cyclone, we must build or restock an emergency preparedness kit. Be sure to include key items like flashlight, batteries, cash, and first aid supplies. Have drinking water ready for use and canned goods. Plan how to communicate with family members if you lose power. Even consider building an emergency communication plan. During a tropical cyclone, we must stay calm and be alert. Stay indoors. Postpone any plans of travels or errands. Monitor the weather reports. Check what is happening around you. When local authorities advise you to evacuate, do so. Move family pets and valuables to a safe place. Turn off gas valves, electricity, and water when safe to do so. After a tropical cyclone, we must avoid walking or driving through flood water. Just 6 inches of moving water can knock you over, and fast-moving water can sweep your vehicle away. Avoid any floodwater that may be electrically charged from underground or down power lines. In addition, be extra vigilant as floodwater can be hiding dangerous debris and areas where the ground was washed away. Only return home when authorities indicate it is safe. Be sure to keep in touch with friends and family so they know that you are safe. Being prepared can reduce fear, anxiety, and losses that accompany disasters. Communities, families, and individuals should know where to seek shelter during a powerful storm. They should be ready to evacuate their homes and take refuge in public shelters and know how to care for their basic medical needs. People also can reduce the impact of disasters and sometimes avoid danger completely. Pag-asa forecasters monitor, evaluate, and predict tropical cyclones in 3 domains: the Philippine Area of Responsibility, the Tropical Cyclone Advisory Domain, and the Tropical Cyclone Information Domain. These domains are represented by 3-layered zone that encircle the country. If a tropical cyclone forms inside these domains, Pag-asa is required to warn the public about the weather disturbance. Pag-asa truly offers information that is beneficial to those who live in areas where a storm is expected to make landfall. Their warning was correct, allowing individuals to take precautions and avoid high-risk accidents when a hurricane made landfall.
Yes, excellent! Based on your experience, how would you relate it into real-life situation?
Based on my experience, tropical cyclones have indeed brought various impacts on life and even in property since then. People become resilient enough to be prepared before, during, and after it falls the land, while seeing its effects depending on the intensity and speed in a particular place or time. In fact, a greater impact will create a huge damage. The lower it is, the lesser it will be.
And also, class, you will learn how to adapt to the situation, as well as you will know how to develop an ideas and strategies.
Alright! So class, do you know how typhoons are formed? To deepen our understandings, I will group you into 4. Each group will consist of 4 members. 2 groups will present an illustration about the formation of typhoons, and the other 2 groups will present their own ideas on how to be prepared when there is a typhoon. Are we all set? So now, let us see your group presentation. Reminder, students, choose only one representative in each group to report your output, okay?
How do typhoons form? How should people prepare for a typhoon?
A typhoon forms over a low-pressure area where warm moist air is gently rising. As warm and moist air arises, it cools, forms clouds, and gives off heat into the atmosphere. This heat becomes the fuel that makes the air mass spin rapidly in a counterclockwise direction. The winds rotate or spin around the center called an eye. Making a plan before, during, and after a calamity is necessary for people to be prepared when a typhoon strikes. We can make a disaster plan and prepare as a survival kit before a typhoon hits. We may follow the stages in this plan to ensure our safety before, during, and after a natural disaster such as a typhoon. Next, we must either stay at home or ready to evacuate if required during a storm. We should pay attention to local advice and information and current evacuation and shelter arrangements. After a typhoon, we must also be alert and informed about the present condition in our locality. We can return to our homes only when the authorities declare. Keep an eye out for the live wires and damaged structures.
Why is it necessary for us to know the precautionary measures before, during, and after typhoon?
Being prepared can reduce fear, anxiety, and losses that accompany disasters. Communities, families, and individuals should know where to seek shelter during a powerful storm. They should be ready to evacuate their homes and take refuge in public shelters and know how to care for their basic medical needs. People also can reduce the impact of disasters and sometimes avoid danger completely.
Why is it important to correctly know and announce the formation of typhoons?
The Philippines, as a tropical country with a wet and dry season, is no stranger to typhoons that strike at any time of year. That is why it is critical for people to be informed about typhoons so that they can be prepared in the event of an emergency.
Very good, class! It seems like you've learned a lot in our discussion.
The students will watch a video about the movement of a typhoon. The features of a typhoon will be shown and the following students will answer the following questions. How can you relate yourself if you are in the situation where the typhoon will landfall to your place?
If I were in a scenario where a typhoon was about to make landfall in our area, I would be frightened and scared since we had no idea what the impact of the typhoon would be. If that occurs, I shall adhere to the safety precautions that Pag-asa advised to us to take before, during, and after a typhoon. When it comes to typhoons, one can never be too careful. It is enough to lose one's life if one underestimates the hazards it presents, or if one acts carelessly during the storm. We must educate ourselves and understand the steps we must take before, during, and after a typhoon. We must constantly take the required measures and obtain all available information, as this will help us in planning and preventing any unnecessary damages or losses.
What is your opinion to Pag-asa's effort in determining typhoons and providing information that can be a great help to the citizens?
Pag-asa forecasters monitor, evaluate, and predict tropical cyclones in 3 domains: the Philippine Area of Responsibility, the Tropical Cyclone Advisory Domain, and the Tropical Cyclone Information Domain. These domains are represented by 3-layered zone that encircle the country. If a tropical cyclone forms inside these domains, Pag-asa is required to warn the public about the weather disturbance. Pag-asa truly offers information that is beneficial to those who live in areas where a storm is expected to make landfall. Their warning was correct, allowing individuals to take precautions and avoid high-risk accidents when a hurricane made landfall.
In your own perspective, what do you think is the purpose why we need to study typhoons?
We need to study typhoons because it is the best way to understand and take action on possible situations that may happen along the way. Indeed, it would be successful and will yield positive results, namely to reduce the risk and consequences.
Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration or Pag-asa, which monitors weather occurrences like weather disturbances, specifically tropical cyclones that enter or develop in the Philippine Area of Responsibility. Pag-asa gives protection against natural calamities by providing flood and typhoon warnings to the people, which made the communities resilient to typhoons, floods, rain-induced landslides, and storm surges. A big salute to this institution for their dedication of helping the Filipino people in the midst of calamity. If a typhoon would landfall to my place, I will prepare myself and my family and ready the things which are very important just in case. I will not also be hard-headed and would follow the emergency authorities' order. We need to study typhoons and practice typhoon disaster prevention regardless of its intensity because we don't know what significant damages and risk it could bring. At all times, we need to be ready. Very good! What a great idea you have there! I can clearly see that you have already understood this lesson. Now, Teacher Emalu will evaluate your understanding about the lesson.
And now, to evaluate your learning, here is our individual activity. Which storm signal is the less environmental impact and why? Which storm signal brings worst impact the environment and why? And I will show your answers. Signal number 1, it is because the rains are intermittent. The answer for number 2 is signal number 4. It is because it is very intense typhoon.
Before we end our class today, I will give you a group activity and I will be able to divide the class into 3 groups. Each group are going to role-play the activities that should be done before, during, and after the typhoon happened. You should be able to base the criteria class. Do you understand? Okay. Goodbye and thank you, class. See you on Monday and have a great day.